So the machine was working.
I never bothered to check the calibration because the hand never moved.
These things never quite work as you expect them to, Mr. Angier. That's one of the principal beauties of science. I'll need a couple of weeks to iron out the problems with the machine. We'll send word when it's ready. Don't forget your hat.
Well, which one is mine?
They're all your hats, Mr. Angier.
Welcome back to the Harbor 2024. We're back with a new episode. This year, we're starting out with The Prestige, directed by Christopher Nolan, an extremely formative film for old Kino Kowboy. 2006, my friend came back from the theater. I said, "What did you watch?" He said, The Prestige. I was like, "What is that?" He said, it's where two magicians battle it out. And I'm like, okay. So my 12-year-old brain thinks it's a bunch of wizards fighting, with
they say that
magic
they
and
say
stuff.
We're not wizards, we're magicians.
And
a wizard.
So I was like, okay, I gotta check this film out when it comes out on video. And so when it came out on video, I went to Hastings and it was sold out. It was all rented out that weekend because it was a new release, a hot item. Nolan was fresh off of Batman, so there was the hype. And so this guy, I told this on our formative directors who made us cast. Y'all can go check that out. But this guy overheard that me, a 12-year-old, was wanting to rent The Prestige, and he was so impressed that he let me rent his copy, and I got to go home and watch it. And
you ever figure out who that guy was?
Yeah.
I can imagine that he's like some fucking weirdo though, too.
Yeah, he was a cool guy.
He's probably watching this podcast. He's like, I encourage these nerds too much. Now they're sharing their opinions on the internet.
But it was just like,
that man's name
was
Christopher Nolan in Hastings in Arkansas.
This film really rewired my brain, and I really felt like I was watching a film for grown-ups, you know what I mean? Like, my mom and I rented all kinds of blockbusters and stuff, This was like a very challenging movie for me at 12 years old, and as soon as it ended, I was like, let's watch this again. My mom was like, no, I'm not watching this again. We just watched it. So I took it to my room and rewatched it again in my room right after it, because the ending like sent me through a spiral as a kid. And then
this is like before the time of Reddit forums where you go,
yeah, and I got up the next morning and watched it a third time, and I had to explain everything to my mom, who still hadn't unraveled the movie yet. And it was like a really it was just a moment in my life as a kid where I was like, I need to watch more movies like this that challenge me. And that's when I became a Nolan fan, not just a Batman fan, but a Nolan fan,
Is
And,
this back then, did you call the movies films as well?
I don't know. Who knows?
He called them moving pictures.
Yeah, I went to the moving picture show with my mother.
But
it's funny. It's such a mom thing that your mom didn't did she not understand the ending? It lays it out pretty.
It's pretty easy to lay down when you're 12 or a 40-year-old mother, though. It's kind of hard to get the first time.
She was probably tired from breastfeeding Adrian.
well, it's not just it's not just like, it definitely rocked a lot of people. Like, it spread, online and throughout the community. Like, this movie's got a crazy ending, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But also, like, there was a lot of that going around. M. Night Shyamalan movies at the time were like hacky, twist endings. This was more natural. Like,
That's kind of how
everything
Nolan
together.
is, though. Like, besides the Dark Knight trilogy and
I know,
Dunkirk,
but this was also, I watched a lot of, stuff 12-year-olds watch. This was,
well, no. Yeah, I'm saying just in general, this, you always think of twist filming,
it's
even
not even
as
a
like
twist. It's just like
like
a
it,
puzzle.
but like if you look at
You
the rest
say
of his
it's
stuff, it's like there's Memento and Insomnia and The
Yes,
Prestige and
clearly, but I
Inception.
hadn't seen these movies, so it doesn't
Well,
matter.
I'm not saying to you. I'm saying just to general audiences. Most people would expect an M. Night Shyamalan. What a twist! But he puts these like thoughtful, like twist endings at the end.
It's not a twist, it's like
Uh,
a puzzle.
I'm
Right.
He
Would
sets
you
it up at
call
the
it
beginning.
would you
I'm
call it like a magic trick or a prestige even?
Well, it's just also that was a foray into nonlinear storytelling at the time too, which Nolan I think does masterfully. And at no point when you're watching this, you're like you kind of immediately know at what point everything is going on because he gives you all these different setups, and
Man,
it just that's
looking at
really key to
Nolan's
me.
filmography, it's like every other film besides his first two is like a crazy fucking like nonlinear story. Like because it goes from like Memento, Insomnia, and then Batman Begins, and The Prestige, and then The Dark Knight, and then Inception, and then Dark Knight Rises, then Interstellar, Dunkirk, Tenet, Oppenheimer. It's like,
There's nothing
yeah,
that crazy about uh Dunkirk. The only thing is that
that's what I'm saying.
it
Every other
also has
one,
some
you're
non-linear.
not listening to me. I'm saying
No, I'm
every
saying you're
will
talking
will you
about
let me
Nolan like
finish?
we're
Will
12
you
years
let
old
will
here.
you let me
People
finish?
watching this podcast know
Oh
who
my
Nolan is and
fucking
what he
God.
does.
I'm not gonna do this all podcast if you don't let me finish my thought. Please.
Okay.
Because
Okay.
what I'm saying is like every other film, he either makes something that is grounded in reality or something that is linear or something that's got some kind of crazy filmmaking foray into it. I didn't notice that it's literally every other film.
But does Interstellar, would you say, I don't know, maybe
Yeah, I
Interstellar.
mean, Interstellar definitely goes into like the weird non-linear storytelling towards the end, especially.
It's
Everything else is like more grounded.
there's an obsession with time in all of his movies, and Sidney Lumet wrote that filmmaking is sculpting in time. And I think one thing that really stuck out to me on this, so I've read a lot of think pieces of people saying how the movie Inception is a metaphor for filmmaking. And this is the first time I've seen this movie since maybe high school. This is maybe the third time I've seen this movie. So and I think this movie as well, viewing it through that lens, is very um much as Inception, a sort of analog to the creative process and to artistry and to filmmaking in general, and as a commentary on itself as a film, which I somewhat got when I watched it originally as a teenager, but it really stuck out to me this time how um the dualities in this almost sort of are representative, like the characters are almost representative of different artistic temperaments. They can also be represented in these sort of artistry versus commercialism of Edison and Tesla. And there's a lot of dialectics in this that I'm still trying to sort through, but I almost think this movie is about form versus content and how form informs content. And when I say content, I mean in the original sense, not
Of
in
course.
TikToks, of course. I just had to make the comment. um, and about it made me think. So I'm a stand-up comedian. We all, people know that. It made me think a lot of that about that a lot because I guess since I've started doing stand-up, notice when the audience is tricked by good performance to laugh at mediocre jokes. While I'm at the opposite, I am a mediocre joke writer with even more mediocre performance who sometimes gets frustrated that my art is not seen as the genius it is. So basically I'm like Christian Bale and I'm fucking my brother's wife. That's not true, but that's what I took from it.
Okay. Were you guys into magic at all growing up or no?
I liked Chris Angel.
Yeah.
I liked what's his name, David Blaine.
Oh, dude, David Blaine was when I was
And
okay.
I fucking really liked Penn Jillette and Penn and Teller or whatever.
Sure.
Even though their bullshit show I was not allowed to watch. But I would anyway. And then like, yeah, I was kind of into magic. Magic's kind of whack, but I was kind of into magic. Um, fucking David Copperfield and what are their names? Siegfried and Roy. That was
Oh
kind of
yeah.
shit.
Oh
That
yeah, with
stuff was
the
kind of shit.
Were they magicians or did they just
They were
hang out with
magicians with
pirates?
tigers.
Okay.
Yeah, they
I
were big magicians.
see. I said before the podcast, magicians are the lawyers to the comedians' doctors. So we work together and at odds, often on the same gigs. Um, but I don't know. I had a little mad book of magic when I was a kid, and would try to do different
Did it come
tricks.
with like a shitty ball and like a cup that you could like make shit disappear with?
Yeah.
It
I had
came
that
with. I
shit
remember
too.
it came with a fake thumb that was very obviously fake, and you couldn't use it
I've
for
got a
close up.
I've got a fake thumb.
Yeah,
Uh,
it was
Yeah,
about that
wow.
level of realism. So I was not super into magic. I do find it interesting how you can classify any type of magic trick into a set sort of number of categories. Which is why they have that fool us that Penn and Teller show where magicians try to fool Penn and Teller and make bamboozle them basically so that they
yeah.
don't know what the trick is.
One of
So
the Go ahead, I'm sorry.
no, I just think that's interesting how
Well, yeah, no, it is interesting. I'm sorry. I'll keep getting delayed. The guy in here, Milton the Magician, is played by Ricky Jay, who is like a world famous magician. And I was looking up his like work before this, and I guess they classically changed, like trained in like doing illusions so they could pull them off for the movie. Some of that, I don't know, because it
Yeah,
says here.
it said in the
the-
credits like they said special thanks to like David Copperfield and like a few other magicians.
Yeah, it's like they had Ricky Jay, who played Milton the Magician, the older magician, whose employs Angier and Borden at the beginning, and they trained Jackman and Bale for their roles with like
Yeah.
various stage illusions, which to me is fucking wild that they learned these massive illusions
Yeah.
and how to clone themselves.
Well, that's the thing is like thankfully that remained a surprise for me when my friend Jack described it to me, because 12-year-olds sometimes they don't know how to filter uh spoilers that well. But
yeah, and obviously we're spoiling this whole movie, but you
I'm
probably get
super huge into movies that are secretly science fiction, and this is one of them. And it involves Tesla, and not only does it involve Tesla, David Bowie plays Tesla, which is an extra layer
Goblin
because
King himself.
both Bowie and Nikola Tesla were varying degrees into the occult. And that's what makes this film take on another level. When you really read up on Nikola Tesla, like he said he had visions his whole life and and that's how he would get these ideas and that he would like be able to speak and talk to things that others people couldn't see and stuff. So it's really kind of crazy because so I don't know. It works for me. I could see why someone would watch this and they would just want it to be more grounded in reality, but I think that's really what takes it to the next level is like, oh, this guy, these are the most two intense magicians of all time, apparently, because one is willing to kill clones of himself to do a trick just to outdo his adversary. But
yeah,
you
it
know,
and it says at the end because I was watching this performance, Hugh Jackman's performance, I mean, while he was starting to do the new disappearing man or transported man toward the end where he kills the clones. And I was wondering, well, which one is the guy putting on the show getting teleported to the balcony, or is he falling through? And at the end, he says, I never knew which night which I was going to be. So it's almost like this weird quantum teleportation, something or other, gobbledygook. Who cares about the real science? It's not real. Where he doesn't know at any point if he's going to fall into that tank of water or get onto the balcony, which is absolutely insane that you would dedicate your life and potentially end it
Yeah.
over what is ultimately a C grade form of entertainment.
Well, it's what Wikipedia says is every performance created a new Angier while the original drowned,
yeah, that's what I feel like. Maybe
which is
he
so
didn't
fucked.
know, but I feel like yeah. So he must have the same memories. I'm guessing because his neurons and stuff are all cloned too at the moment. But
Man, they need to make a
yeah,
Prestige
imagine
2 where
committing.
one of those survived.
I
Exact
mean,
revenge.
the point is the man's ego literally outlives his physical body. It's that oversized
Yeah.
and huge. I mean, this is egomaniacal obsession, which is another theme that Nolan likes. See Oppenheimer, if you want the most recent example. Um, it's absolutely insane that anybody would have to live their act. And I almost wonder, because this is when his career really started taking off. I mean, Following and Memento did well in critic circles and film circles and stuff.
Yeah.
They weren't I mean, they were successes, but with Batman and this is where he's working with, huge names.
Yeah.
And I wonder if it reflects his own, because I did look it up. He's been married to the same woman since 97 or something, which for a director, especially of his stature, is, that's the real accomplishment in his career, is to not ruin his marriage. Honestly, like for real though.
Can I say something about comment on those large stars? Because like I think after Memento is like because he did Insomnia, which is a lot of people haven't seen Insomnia, but Insomnia is pretty good too.
I've
And that
not seen
has
it. I've not seen
that's
that
got
full.
Al Pacino and Robin Williams as the stars. So it's like he's had he just like gets the biggest stars for every film. It feels
Robin
like.
Williams in a villain role, which a lot of people hadn't seen him do that kind of stuff.
It's so good. I love Insomnia.
Yeah.
Sorry, just wanted to like
Yeah.
just stress that like dude knows how
Yeah,
to
what
carry
like
film.
that's such an insane like Batman Begins, then The Prestige, then The Dark Knight, like all within a couple of years.
Oh, and then followed by Inception. We've talked about it before. He had a run there where
Yeah.
he did not miss.
It was
And even
insane.
his misses after they're not, you can say Dunkirk like, oh, I didn't like it as much of his other movies, but it's not bad.
I
By
like
any
Dunkirk more than Tenet. I don't like Tenet.
Yeah, I don't care for Tenet. I
can
only
stay
saw it once. We
filtered,
had
that's
this
okay.
discussion. We had that podcast
I
already.
don't
I
like
like
Tenet.
Dunkirk.
I like Dunkirk too.
Tenet people act like it's more complicated than it is. That's the most annoying part.
I
Whether you
think
like
it's-
it or not, that's fucking annoying. It's not
I-
that complicated.
No,
It's
I
just
think
stupid. That's
it
why I like it.
tries to. I think it tries to be complicated, and it just turns out dumb.
There's an argument there, but I like it because it's fucking stupid and awesome.
Well, even the way he edits this movie and the non-linearity, I do think that is part of the prestidigitation of the movie to keep the audience on their toes. And when you do that, by editing it in a non-linear way, I mean, because this story could have been told chronologically.
I would love to see it being put together chronologically too. I'm just out of curiosity.
Yeah, because people did that with Memento.
I know, yeah, the Memento
and
one's
also
cool.
one of the ways he does it, he cuts like Oppenheimer's cut like a thriller almost, and this is too to a degree. And that has to do with the score and everything else. But I think by doing that, he keeps the audience thinking about what's happening in each scene. And therefore, even though the twist is kind of simple when you get down to it about there being a twin, and it's sort of in your face the whole movie,
Oh yeah.
by distracting you with the story within each scene and how it connects to the other scenes due to the non-linearity of it, it's kind of, I mean, it's
Sleight
a
of
very...
hand.
It's sleight of hand because it's him. Magicians often, oldest trick in the book, will do something with one hand to distract you, while with the other hand, that's what they're really doing the trick with. They're getting something out of their sleeve or whatever. And that's what he's doing in a filmmaking style.
Yeah. And it literally opens the film with the, Michael Caine with the bird. And then right after that, we see a trick with the bird getting crushed and then the new bird coming out. It's just all fun. It's like in your face in a fun way. And it's just a great way to set everything up.
It's fun coming back to the film too, knowing the twist, because then you just like watch Fallon the whole time, and you're like, "What's this motherfucker doing?" Like,
Yeah, I hadn't seen
what
this
are
in
you
like
doing?
10 years. So I was hoping that I had forgotten some of this movie, but I realized watching this movie again, even though it's been 10 years, it's like, man, I watched this way too much as a
Yeah,
kid.
this was
What is wrong with me?
This was one I watched a lot too. You're the one who showed me this film when we were like 14, 15.
Yeah.
Right. Well, this was a very fresh watch for me. Like I said, I hadn't seen it in over 10 years, maybe
God,
like
the most
closer to
surprising
15.
thing for me is remembering David fucking Bowie's in this movie.
Oh, wow.
Every time he
How-
pops out, he's like walking through the electricity. It's all going through, and you're just like, "Fuck, dude, it's the Goblin King."
You know what's you know what's funny? In high school, as you guys know, I was so out of touch with certain strains of pop culture, especially popular music. I didn't know who David Bowie was when I mean, like, I knew the name. I didn't recognize it was David Bowie when I watched this movie first. I thought it was
See,
just
I
some
recognized it was David Bowie, but not from his music. It was from Labyrinth.
Oh, okay. I didn't see Labyrinth until later, until I
You
was 18,
see, that's
19.
important that you didn't know who David Bowie was, Scott, because it's vindicating for Perks of Being a Wallflower. Because everyone argues in that movie, there's no way that teenager wouldn't know that David Bowie song. Scott wouldn't have.
You know how many David Bowie songs I can name? Rocket Man.
Rocket
And no,
Man.
that's Elton
That's
John. That's
Elton
Elton
John.
John. See, did you
You're
see what
looking
I just
at
did? That's not a
Ground
bit.
Control to Major Tom.
Wait, Dark Star, because I listened to that album with you guys a week before he died, and that's the only reason I remember it. It was okay. And yeah, I don't know if I can name another. What's the name of the Bowie song that he doesn't know in that movie?
Heroes.
Yeah, I
Who
don't know that
can
song.
be heroes?
You would know it. It plays at the end of a regular show. But
I'm sure if I heard it, I would know it.
yeah, but
Just for the day.
it's just interesting because he definitely has his own connections to the occult. So I bet he was really interested.
Well, yeah, Tesla, his plan was to transmit electricity through the upper atmosphere wirelessly.
Which is awesome.
Yeah, which is awesome. And he kind of does that in that movie. I mean, they allude to it because Jackman's like, well, there's no cord here. There's no wires.
Well, they're just
It's
conducting through the ground.
Yeah, they're just conducting it through the mountain.
Well,
Yeah.
it's like there's dude. One of the things that I got like kind of obsessed with back in the day was the electricity war of this era between
Yeah, the
like,
War of the Currents, which they
well, yeah,
talk about.
but it's Edison and Tesla, and then also one other guy who like they just like filmed electrocuting an elephant to prove that they could conduct the electricity on the pad. Rest in peace, Topsy. So like it's cool that they mention the War of the Elements, and it's fun having Andy Serkis be like the fucking little henchman of Tesla.
I think it's
Yeah.
important to show general audiences that Andy Serkis can act not without a mocap suit. If they even know who he is, they probably did. He was pretty.
Well,
That was such revolutionary technology that.
Of course, I recognized him now, but when I was a kid, I didn't know who he was.
No one had no idea because we only knew him as Gollum.
Yeah. At least, yeah. Yeah, and then I forgot Scarlett Johansson was in this movie. I forgot. her
How do you
English
guys feel
accent.
about her accents?
Her accent kind of sucks.
It's not good.
I wrote that down. It took me out of the movie at first.
Yeah.
It fades into the background once you start watching it, but I did think I kind of wish they had just made her an American living.
Yeah, we have an American already. We have fucking Angier.
Yeah, Angier, he is American. I did hear in at least one line, if you really look at any movie, there's most performances where there's a put upon accent, it'll slip here or there in a scene for a line or two. Because at one point when he's in the when they're at the funeral or whatever, the wake, and he's like, "What knot did you tie?" And he's like, "You don't know?" Like I heard his Australian slip out of it. He's like, "You don't know? You don't know?" Like,
dude, one of my favorite things about this, though, like just the plot of this movie, is that Angier had the initial like prestige correct. He didn't have to go to Tesla. Like he had Lord Cowdlow there, who watching him act with himself essentially was cool. I really like the Lord Cowdlow character, even though he's a fucking drunk. But it's like he had that correct, but he didn't believe it was that simple. And like that's probably my favorite plot point.
You know what it reminds me of? And you might want to skip ahead like a minute if you haven't seen this more recent movie. It reminded me of Glass Onion in a way.
Yeah.
In that the way that is solved at the end, it is stupid. And that's kind of the point. It's more underlined and played for comedic effect in that movie. Because that movie's light comedy, I would say. It's comedy mystery.
Yeah.
But and Ryan Johnson, I listened to his WTF podcast with Mark Maron after that came out. And he did say that in mysteries, what the murder is or who the murderer is, it does matter, but it also kind of doesn't matter because the audience wants to almost figure it out the whole time, but you don't really want to figure it out. Not every time. Then the mystery genre would suck if you always knew what it was by page 50, you know. And that is brought up in this movie. The audience wants to be tricked, you know, in any sort of performance or any sort of art. Like, you want to know that, like, you want to be taken for a ride and
Right.
you want to feel smart, but at the same time be surprised. It's a delicate balance. And so again, that's another analog between magic and filmmaking or storytelling that I think Nolan is trying to draw here.
It's also funny because when I first watched The Thin Man, which is a old movie from 1933, classic like comedy kind of mystery film, it's like I had a great time watching it, and then I was like, wow, what a great movie! No wonder this is like a underseen classic. And then I was like trying to remember who the murderer was, and it's like I don't even remember. I just had such a great time. I can't believe
It's
I
the
can't
journey
remember.
along the way.
I know.
And that's actually one reason I don't like a lot of, I'm very picky with mysteries and stuff. I like movies that have a mystery in them, but some like procedural dramas, your Law and Orders, I'm not a big SVU guy. First of all, I don't want to, I don't know, binge watching a show. Like, I dated this one girl and she
SVU,
would have
I
it on.
love SVU. Just
I
putting
know
that
you
out
do, and
there.
I'm not saying it's a bad show. First of all, but binge watching a show that's about sexual assault is, it gets kind of numbing after a
It's
while. It's
awesome.
just kind of weird that we're just like hanging out eating popcorn, watching this for 3 hours at a time.
Yeah.
Anyway, and then also, I don't know. I play violent video games and stuff like it. I play games about World War II. Who cares? Um,
I
but
love SVU.
also so much of them get caught up in just the plot, you know, and who is the murderer, and this happens, and this happens, and this happens, and almost this Rube Goldbergy sort of plot setting up and knocking down the dominoes to find out who the murderer is. It leaves me very emotionally cold. And now Nolan is a director who's been accused of, and not wrongly, I might add, as at times being emotionally distant, which I think is intentional, you know, like Kubrick or other. He wants to emphasize other parts of the film. But the fact that there is such, it takes a little while to get going, I realize, like, yeah, 20 minutes or so. But like once the rivalry really starts taking off, you really get sucked into that because Jackman and Bale are such master
Yeah,
actors.
it's the most interesting part of the film is how they are trying to fucking sabotage each other.
Right. The hubris of it and the tales of revenge. And I even thought of when what's her name? Julia, the Angier's first wife, who drowns, you know, when Borden is so insistent, and she agrees, goes along with it, on tying the more complicated knot on her wrists, it's almost like, as an artist, the audience doesn't know that. So why do you care? You're solely doing it for your own ego. It's like, just, I don't know, example
Yeah.
I'm pulling out of my ass.
That's a
It's
great
kind of like
point.
a math rock musician who has studied way too much music theory, and then maybe they're complaining at a party about whoever, I don't know, John Mayer or somebody else who plays 3-chord progressions. I don't know anything about music, but some more mainstream artists, it's like, well, at the same time, nobody really cares about the technical aspects of your art if they're not emotionally engaged, and it kind of doesn't matter. The form needs to serve the content, and vice versa. So, and anything more than that is masturbatory. And you could argue that, you know, no one gets up his own ass with how complicated his film structures can be. But at the same time, he knows how to weave it together with an engaging story and does that to keep the audience on their toes with sleight of hand and the prestidigitation of filmmaking.
Yeah, and
So
I had a friend growing up who when it came to playing instruments, he was technical, like really good, and just got that stuff down right. Like I was really impressed with his abilities with different instruments. But when it came to actually, being creative and making a song or something fresh, he had nothing to show for it. He just liked mastering other people's compositions and trying to figure that out, and it kind of that's what it reminds me of. Christian
Lloyd
Bale's
Davis?
character. I'm saying Christian Bale, he has the technical ability, but he has to work on the showmanship. And of course, Hugh Jackman's character has all the showmanship, and is jealous of my Christian Bale's natural ability. I don't know. It's just because
Natural ability, it's like, but it's like it's not necessarily national. You don't have natural ability at what the type of shit that Borden
well,
was.
he had the commitment, the
Yeah,
insane
that's what it
commitment. Him
is.
and his twin
It's the sociopath, like
lived in
sociosity.
secret for who knows how long. Like, how long have they been planning this? How did that
I mean,
even work?
their daughter's what, 7 in this movie? So
It's got to be
7.
longer than that because like they were like they Angier and Borden were hired at the same time. Fallon has been in the film the entire time. I mean, it's like the fucking stupid amount of commitment to surgically remove 2 of your fingers. Fucking A,
Awesome.
man.
So
It's so
awesome, dude.
dope.
This
That whole
movie's
shot, that whole sequence is so great.
the
The
most
reveal at the end.
extreme commitment to the bit. Like, like what the hell are you do? It's magic, dude. Relax.
Yeah, again, it's like vaudeville entertainment. I mean, I guess magic had its heyday in 1890s London,
Yeah.
late Victorian London when this is, I
And
guess.
well, it's funny because like this movie was one of the like the 3 or two movies that came out like the same year
The
about
Illusionist.
magicians. And then there's the French animated film Illusionist or whatever. It's really, really probably my favorite of the 3. But it's like they tried to revamp this because again, in 2006, that's like the peak of like Chris Angel. And,
Yeah.
like,
David Blaine, dude. Street magic, dude. That
Street
shit
Magic
was crazy.
I would
I
love for
really,
them to make a Houdini movie. Like that'd be cool.
they've made multiple Houdini movies.
Name one.
Houdini. I bet that's one. It's just
Okay,
called
The
that
Houdini.
is.
the fucking the only thing we have now is David Blaine going on Joe Rogan swallowing like 3 or 4 frogs.
Oh, my favorite shit is when he does it with Harrison Ford, and Harrison Ford's like, "Get the fuck out of my house."
He throws the frogs back up on the podcast, and he's like,
Yes.
"Look, they're fine." I'm
I
like,
love
"What the
magic.
hell are you
Magic's
doing?"
awesome, dude. Magic.
is that magic or is that just keeping frogs in
Uh,
your throat?
It's
we
just a
could-
stunt.
There's also that. There's also that
Jackass
Nathan.
with extra steps.
There's
Yeah, I
that
know.
Nathan.
It's like I don't know if I you know, I don't eat a bunch of live crickets. I'm like, look, it's magic. It's like no, you
There's
just
that
you're just
there's
weird.
that fucking Nathan for You sketch where it's like I have to make sure I do this episode or get this business off the ground or else this machine will take off my pants in front of a bunch of children and then I'll catch a charge. It's like
One of my
So
favorite
funny.
parodies. I want to shout out in the 2000s, Mega 64. They did their Christopher Demon character, which was a parody of Chris Angel, and that's what got me to watch Chris Angel was their parody of him because that's how prevalent he was in pop culture at the time. So
dude, go watch his Cribs episode.
yeah,
He's got a crazy ass apartment.
I bet there's hidden stairways and weird, you know, you sit on his couch and it opens a trap door and you fall into the basement.
Well, it's like what? There's man, Chris Angel inspired a lot of fucking characters too, like the Fright Night date, whatever his name is, David. I don't remember his name. The main vampire hunter in Fright Night is like playing a Chris Angel character, and like
that's a remake of an earlier movie, isn't it?
yeah, but they completely took his character and made him like this rock star magician in Vegas.
Right. No, it is weird. There was, and I guess it was with cable and with social media, because I remember before I saw the David Blaine Street Magic, I saw the parody of it that had gone viral where he's tricking dude. You know what I'm
What the
talking about?
F? What the
Yeah.
F?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, yes. Also, like very overt, like Queer Eye for the Straight Guy and metrosexuality was big in the early 2000s. At the
That
same
was
time,
so fucking funny. Yeah, those what the David Blaine Street Magic YouTube videos are.
oh yeah,
fucking
those are
iconic.
classic.
What
Some
the
people listening
F?
might be too young to remember that, but those are
Dude,
old YouTube, like 2006
You
shit.
couldn't walk
Oh,
into a
yeah.
middle school without hearing "What the F" or like
Yeah,
any of the other stupid. That's the only quote I can remember from that.
I do. We were talking about how like it's an insane to go this far for magic, but you get briefly you do hear Christian Bale's character basically almost like he really wants to be remembered big time. And both of them do, but he really just like he wants to be remembered after he's gone. And so obviously that's pushing him to do, I guess, the best thing he thinks he can do, which I guess he was born a twin, so that kind of helps. So, but
It's just funny the lengths that people go to. That there was that film that came out a few years ago that was similarly obsessive about being. Well, his was more about money. It's that one with Bradley Cooper that I can't remember what the fuck that was. Give me a second and I'll find it.
Oh,
But
Guardians of the Galaxy.
that's it. No, he nailed it. But just like this obsession for any of these artists to hold down a place in history. I mean, that's a big thing, I guess, you know.
And it's such an odd thing to. I get it, but at the same time, like the whole point of a legacy is it exists after you're dead, and if you're dead, you can't
It
enjoy
don't matter.
having the legacy. So it's about enjoying it. And I do think that's another theme of the movie because these people destroyed their lives and their marriages with this. And you know who's in the movie and who was a real person? Chung Ling Soo. I feel racist just saying that because it was a guy in yellowface acting like he was some ancient Chinese mystic who didn't speak any more than broken English.
yeah.
That was a real guy. He would act like an old man and do all that. And he's in
Yeah,
his 80s.
the film I was talking about with Bradley Cooper was Nightmare Alley. I don't know if you guys saw that.
Oh,
No,
no,
that
I
I
didn't
missed
see
that
that.
one. That was Del
I-
Toro's.
Yeah, I
Yep.
really enjoy that film. But it has a similar, this guy comes from nothing, wants to reestablish himself, but it has more of like a greed, a money thing to it, where Angier and Borden, I don't think it's ever been about money for them.
No, it's about the at the end, Angier says it's the adulation of the crowd.
I also love the rivalry between artists and different viewing points and how they view artistry. Like that trope is carried on to a lot of things that I've seen. Even fucking anime has that. Like prevalent anime has that. There's a Naruto has that in like later game where two characters, one thinks that art should be like only here for a set amount of time, so he makes elaborate clay bombs, and then the other person is like thinks that art should be here for a long time, so he makes like puppets, and the trope is fun. Like it's a fun rivalry.
Which is actually interesting when you bring it up in a live theater context, especially toward the end where he's only doing 100 shows because I don't know, he's like, can I get away with this for that long? But it's you have a live, like, just let's take theater, like plays, for example. You do have a script, so in one sense it's eternal, the text is eternal, and in a sense the tricks are eternal, you know. But every night is different because you have a different audience every night, and because you can perform things in different ways every night. So it is this thing, like, that's another dichotomy I think it wrestles with, is the ephemerality of live performance versus having your legacy, or maybe the text or what the act itself being more permanent, you know. I don't know, something.
I think a detail I may have missed, I'm not even sure if it's mentioned, but how does Angier have so much money to just frivolously spend on this project?
I think he had already been successful by this point, right? By the
I mean,
time
isn't his real name Lord Cadlow? Or is
That's
that a
like
stage name.
his
that's a
dupe.
persona at the end.
Okay.
Yeah, that's his dupe. But
I think he starts out as a working magician, finds some success, and then just spends all the money he has, basically.
because he's always saying money's no object, but it's like you're able to pay Tesla to make this insane machine, and like you're able to open this venue right across the street from your adversary, all this kind of stuff. It's like
Maybe he's getting all that money from opening up that circus that he did.
oh, good one.
Yeah, fuck that.
Yeah,
movie.
as the Barnum, the P.T. Barnum.
Now it
circus.
was funny watching this now, because anytime he had his shirt off, you get to see his Wolverine build, and you're like, Jesus, dude, why are you so built? Because he was gonna make X-Men Origins right after this.
Yeah,
I
X-Men
don't know.
Origins after this, man.
Yeah,
Time flies. It was funny. It's like when you see Gone Girl, and Ben Affleck is just built as fuck because he's getting ready to play Batman. He's just like unnaturally built. Look, I took a lot of creative writing classes. None of my professors looked like Ben Affleck and Gone Girl. Trust me, none of them were that built.
Yeah, I remember when we saw set photos of Ben Affleck for that movie. We were like, "What the hell, dude?" Oh
So
man,
yeah, man, I'm a novelist. Aren't all novelists benching 400?
yeah, fucking A.
Okay, so
Yeah.
here's what I'm reading about this wealth thing because Lord Cadlow is not the dupe. Lord Cadlow is his actual persona. He's independently wealthy, and he explains that to his wife. It doesn't express how he's independently wealthy. But he had to change his name to save himself from embarrassment. So Angier is what he's going by for his stage name.
Okay.
And also, once he gets that machine, what's to say he's not just duplicating money?
Yeah, that's a kind of a better idea.
Yeah,
I didn't
way
even
better.
think of that.
You do whatever you want.
Like, it's not for that. It's for the look on their faces.
It would,
Yeah.
it would have the same serial number though. So I guess.
Gerald Root, though, it was. You think they give a fuck about serial numbers back in 1890s?
Yeah, dude. There's so much identity fraud in this movie you couldn't do today because who cares back then? Did they even know? I don't even think they took fingerprints of criminals back then. They hadn't even figured that out.
Dude,
Or they just didn't do it.
If fucking Christian Bale's Borden character can drop a ball, fall on the ground, and then rechain a guardsman in the prison there, they're not fucking doing fingerprints. They're not doing DNA. They're not doing anything. This is very like you already talked about how he's escaped from prison before. This is like the most simple shit ever. But no, that's what I'm reading on Reddit. Is like he makes a comment to Olivia that his real identity was Lord Cadlow.
Oh, okay.
He had to change his name. Also, the American accent was apparently the American accent is fake since he was actually British.
He's Australian.
Yeah.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Like in the movie.
No, that Robert Angier, Lord
But
Cadlow.
that adds to the character of Angier though, because it shows that like he was like he made that he was independently wealthy, so he didn't understand the hard work that Borden was putting in.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because Borden was doing it not only to have a legacy, but he was doing it to fucking survive.
But they're both, at the end of the day, both shitty, horrible people. So fuck them.
Like, right.
He had his wife.
Is Borden that good of a magician? Outside of the transported man, we see all his tricks, and it's just the rings.
It's all sleight of hand. Well, what are we gonna have? Like actual wizard magic? I mean, he's a great sleight of hand.
Actual
I see what you're saying. Yeah, he's kind of yeah.
I don't know. If it wasn't for the transported man, he would be kind of a hack magician and never escape that level. And we do have that thing, like he almost thinks, well, grew up poor, so I deserve it, you know.
Well,
versus how many, you know, musicians, actors come from money that we don't hear about, but like, of course, they come from money.
Yeah, they don't.
That's why they were able to
deserve it as much.
art.
They don't deserve it as much. It's they don't. They had the fucking chances, dude. Put them in the streets with me.
Yeah, no, but I don't know.
I think he's a good magician. I mean, he developed the bullet catch, which is like, it's all sleight of hand. Inevitably, though, it was all going to be.
Yeah, it was going to be a good trick, but it got ruined. But you know,
but the bullet catches, which that's what killed the
Brandon,
the not Chinese guy in real life.
Also Brandon Lee, like you were saying.
I was gonna say Brandon Lee.
You know who it didn't kill? Ozymandias in fucking Watchmen. He catches that shit.
Yeah, that's real.
But yeah, but
you know who it?
What?
What? Nothing. I don't know. I was gonna talk about Alec Baldwin, but we've moved past this.
Whoa, yeah.
That's really tragic.
Yeah, I feel bad for the guy.
I wonder. Never mind.
Yeah, what's he doing? Is he in jail?
I was gonna say, I bet he's not doing shit. We could probably get him on this cast.
I almost said it.
No, but
we need to get King Cobra on before we get Alec Baldwin.
Yeah, Christian Bale's character, it doesn't matter because who knows how long he's been committing to this. How long did it take him to figure this out? Because he only started doing that trick for a couple of years, but like
it had to have been real early on in the relationship he has with Sarah, because she keeps making comments. Some days you love me, some days you don't. and that is the most tragic part of this whole fucking
Yeah,
film.
so tragic. She's trapped completely, and then
She's
what
drawn
if
to suicide over it, and it's fucked.
Well, I think she figures it out by the end because Olivia, Scarlett Johansson's character, says she wanted to meet me before she killed herself and tell me something about you, but I was afraid to go see her.
I don't know
Um,
if she figured it out. I don't think she would have. What do you think?
I
She'd
think
kill
she might
herself?
have.
She might. I mean, it's kept ambiguous. She might have. If you learned your entire life was a lie, and that your husband had been like a lie that a normal person would not even comprehend. Like if somebody came to me, if one of you guys came to me, like Adrian, if you came to me and you said, "Hey, my fiance, I think is two people. I think she's a twin who keeps swapping out," I would call Casher and be like, "Dude, we need to get a psychiatrist for Adrian." You know, like I would be worried
Nah,
about you.
dude,
That's such
we
an
would be.
insane thing.
Your
We would
brain would
make
just
you-
immediately shut down. It's
We
Yeah.
would make you. We'd make you do a bunch of like psychedelic drugs and then convince you of that. Just yell at you
that's
like
where-
they are two.
You'd convince me
people.
that I'm a twin too.
No, you're a
Yeah.
triplet, dude.
Oh shit.
Well, it's like dude. There's like the whole split personality thing, but it's like a legitimate thing. Is such a crazy concept because like I don't know. I don't know if she figured that out though. I think that she might be going there to say, "Hey,
I don't know. I think the
he's,
line that Scott said was pretty damning, and I should have thought about that earlier.
well, that line where she says, "I need to tell you something before blah blah blah." Maybe she was going to come up and say, "Hey, the man that's having an affair with you is a split. Like he'll love you this day and love you this won't love you this day." I don't know if she would have really gotten that.
I don't know.
It depends, and it doesn't matter that much.
She
but
feels
it's-
trapped either way, and it's damn if you do, damn if you don't. Because I mean, either they can divorce, I guess, but I don't know. It's
Right,
just
she's
like
Victorian London.
And
Try
it's
to
Yeah,
guys
I
feel
don't, I
about.
don't know if you could divorce back then, and she doesn't care about the money apparently. And they're
Yeah, well,
I don't know if you call it a brownstone, whatever their apartment is.
I got a brown eye.
I guess
Um,
the craziest part of the commitment is that they trade out of being in disguise the whole time, because I guess. And then,
I want to be the new guy. I want to be the real.
and you're not. I guess you can't really tell which one you're watching unless he's loving on his wife. It's like, oh, that's the one who really loves his wife, and then
Yeah, do they both? I did wonder, do they both do the deed with her, or just one?
no,
of
I
them?
doubt it. She probably.
I think
doesn't
it's. I think it's just. I think that's a hard line. I think they both love the daughter because at one point early in the movie, when Sarah says she's pregnant, Borden is like, "Oh, we should have told Fallon," right after he walks out.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that must have been the uncle, not the father, at that moment.
Well, yeah,
And
'cause she
obviously
says-
he's still,
No, you're
like,
right. It was the uncle because right after that he goes, "I love you," and she goes, "You're lying today."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
There you go.
shit.
Oh shit.
Oh shit.
Still figuring out details all these
That's
years
so
later.
cool.
Yeah, that's what's fun about it.
Man.
That is
And again,
literally like
how
the
much-
most fun with these kinds of movies is figuring out stuff like that.
And that is the thing that again, people always try to figure out Nolan's movies. And in Tenet, he straight up says when Robert Pattinson is telling the protagonist, that's the name of the character,
Yeah.
John David Washington. Yeah,
Dumb.
Jesus Christ. When he says like, "Don't worry about the details, just feel it," or something like that. That's Nolan basically telling the audience, "Don't overthink it." Or in Looper, when they basically sit down in the diner and like, let's not worry about timelines and
Yeah.
drawing
Well, it's the
straws.
same like this movie. I can see people like too busy trying to figure out all of its secrets instead of just rolling with it, which
Yeah.
mirrors the non-linearity of the way it's cut too. So I don't know. It's just it comes hand in hand when you watch the movie.
No, it's really a perfect marriage of form and content.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially if
Awesome.
you chop it down into 1 minute intervals and post it on TikTok with
Yeah, that's what they need to do next.
Railway Runner.
God,
Yeah.
Jesus.
Imagine 180 TikToks for Oppenheimer.
I meant to say this earlier.
Well,
Do we
it's
have
just
any,
like
what else is did you
Well, I
guys
was
think
gonna
about
say
this?
that we for a long time people would say what's Nolan's best movie. I always would say this one. But rewatching it, I'm not sure what I think is his best film. I think favorites are gonna be this one, The Dark Knight, and Inception. Just that's how I roll. But now there's gonna be recency bias with Oppenheimer, but that really is a masterfully made
Yeah, I
film.
think Oppenheimer's probably his best work so far.
It's
It
I
might be.
agree. Like it's tempting for me to say that. But again, it's a recency bias because
Well, I
of that movie.
rewatching this, because I went into this being like, this is the best he's made. Rewatching it, I was like, this is great. This is not as like as poignant and as a masterfully done as Oppenheimer was.
Well, I feel like this one it is a bit mechanical. And while I do care about the rivalry, like there is that emotional distance as it warms up later, but in the first 20 minutes or so, it's kind of setting things up.
Yep.
Oppenheimer, you have the advantage of it tackles real people and very pertinent real world
Yeah.
themes of nuclear
Yeah.
war.
I do have to say, I think my mind might have been affected by the movie I watched directly before this one, which was The Holdovers, because The Holdovers was just so fucking good.
It's good. I'm glad you liked it, man. I'm glad you
Yeah.
saw that.
Yeah, that was it's like going from that to almost like just going to like another Nolan blockbuster. It was like, oh,
Those are very different movies.
I know.
They're both cold and wet, but one of them has an emotional warmth at its core. And this movie,
Yeah.
the characters are really nihilistic.
I think it did affect me though a little bit going from The Holdovers to this. I was like, fuck.
Yeah.
I wanted to go
And
back. I wanted to go back to The
Paul
Holdovers.
Giamatti's WTF podcast with Mark Maron, recent one, is also very good. And gives some insight into that movie.
Yeah. I fucking love that movie though. Yeah.
You know, Nikola Tesla, he had friendships with like pigeons and shit.
Like Mike Tyson?
Well,
You know, pigeons are domesticated, right?
he had a spiritual connection with like these pigeons, and like even had like one like almost like a girlfriend or something. But like he would say that they were like spiritual gateways to, kind of higher level things, and he would use them and possibly to communicate with like spirits or some shit. I don't know. It gets kind of crazy.
How much ether did fucking Nikola Tesla do?
Yeah, it sounds like he was smoking some gateway drugs.
I was just saying, we didn't have LSD yet. Mushrooms weren't quite a thing in the West. This dude had to have been huffing a fuck ton of ether.
I think he was legitimately schizophrenic or he had hallucinations. We know that for sure. I really think your brain's firing on all cylinders all the time because you're a generational genius. I mean, he was just one of those stories you read about him. He's one of those 13-year-olds who was doing graduate level math in his head or something like that.
Fucking nerd.
Yeah, but
Which
also
is like a teacher got onto him for not showing his work, and he's just like, "No, I did it all in my head just now." That
he's
sort of
yeah, but the visions he would have is what would lead him to all of these scientific discoveries, which is very interesting. And
it is interesting, and it is I think your subconscious working stuff out.
And also he
ideas.
saw the universe as like a unified field of energy and believed like life force flows through all living things and stuff, which is a lot of ideas way ahead of their time. And him being able to combine spirituality with science and advancements in technology is really fascinating.
Yeah, he probably read some Eastern stuff and drank some ether. And
do you guys think he fucked? Do you guys think he got like mad puss for fucking around with electricity?
I think he probably turned down. I mean, Isaac Newton died a virgin, and I don't know if Tesla did, but he was probably way too focused on his work to be carried about some winches.
I think it's Tesla's worth reading into. I was hoping to have Sumner on this episode, so because he'll talk deep occultism and magic and studies like that, which would obviously y'all are a little more cynical about. But
no, yeah, I'm a dick about it. I know. I'm sorry,
but maybe someday. That's why I need him on any future Lynch cast, so I can.
I think it's funny that you're like you'd be a dick about it, but I'm all like I probably would, but also I'm the same person who's like, yeah, Bigfoot's fucking real, guys. Because
Bigfoot's real.
Yeah, Bigfoot is genuinely. Yeah.
Where is he hiding?
He's not hiding.
Like it's one singular
Yeah.
person.
It's not one thing.
Bigfoot.
It's not, but like, why haven't we discovered? I know this is off topic, but why haven't we discovered something that big in the American woods?
Because we fucking haven't discovered the parts of the woods yet that are fucking there. There's so many untapped cavern systems in the fucking US. Oh, we're not getting into fucking Bigfoot.
No,
Okay, we'll talk about it later.
It's wild that Scott can't even fathom the idea that there might be some wild, giant, human, hairy person.
No,
out
it's
there.
actually, here's the thing. I actually read a lot about cryptids and UFOs and stuff as a kid, and I do believe in aliens, and I don't think it's entirely impossible. I just think something that big, chances are more, it's more likely that it is not real than it is, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, it's more likely you're gay.
Yeah. Good one.
You think so do you like the sci-fi angle of this film though?
That's what makes this movie better for me.
I think it does. I think it works, because I was thinking that during the movie, like, how necessary is this? Does it jump the shark? But honestly, the highlighting the absolute madness of Angier just being like, I'm going to commit suicide 100 times just because fuck this guy, is so out there and insane.
Dude, fucking The Illusionist came out the exact same fucking year. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, dude, because I remember seeing ads for both on TV.
Yeah, this is like the chick version though. It's like, yeah, we got the romantic period piece, or we got the dueling
What are you, a fucking
sci-fi
college
magicians,
kid?
dude.
Bro, it's the chick version, bro.
That's the joke.
Dude,
Nick, bro, John Cusack.
That is an interesting one.
Does he hold up? Does he hold up a phonograph outside her window? Come on, dude.
It's like when Deep Impact and Astro or whatever that movie's called,
Armageddon.
Armageddon, when those came out at the same time. Sometimes that shit just happens.
And those are pretty different movies. Well, a lot of it, the same market research firms will talk to multiple studios about what's in the zeitgeist, and then two of them might listen to the same, like, oh, asteroids are big in the zeitgeist, let's make an asteroid movie. That's what happens. And the same thing with Magic there. It was big in the zeitgeist in, say, early 2000s. Takes a few years to make a movie, and just they happen to come out in the same year.
Yeah, it'd be quite different though if Nolan would have made this movie like contemporary with like David Blaine as like the main character or something. You know, like
I never saw it, but like an incredible Burt Wonderstone. But with,
man, the only reason why I watched that is because James Gandolfini's in it, and I've watched everything James Gandolfini's ever been in.
How's the movie?
Not good.
I heard it's not that good. I heard Carrie is good in it, but
yeah, he's fine. Gandolfini plays like this fucking. It really made me upset and made me realize I don't need to watch everything that Gandolfini's in.
Yeah, because he's not that good. What does he play? The tiger?
He plays like he's like an agent, like the agent of Burt Wonderstone, and is kind of a pussy instead of being who I want him to be.
Yeah, but he's an actor.
Yeah, I want him to play a mob boss in every movie.
No, not a mob boss, but he's got to be a fucking badass at least.
I don't know. He's a fat actor. He can't be a badass.
He's not that fat.
He's pretty fat.
He is for like 2002.
Catcher, he died of a heart attack.
He did die of a heart attack.
I do really hate watching School of Rock and they make fat jokes in 2003 about Jack Black, and then I look at myself, I'm like, dude, I'm fatter than Jack Black.
Dude, you gotta, if you watch Early Sopranos, like he's really not that big in Early Sopranos.
Yeah.
But they're just like, that fat fucking prick, I'm gonna kill his, he needs to stop stuffing his face with fucking sandwiches.
Yeah, well, now we have like food. I mean, it's just an arms race to see like how many people can you kill with your product, you know?
Yeah. Well,
like coffee used to be coffee. Now it's goddamn milkshakes with.
Now they have death-proof coffee.
Like the movie?
I don't know. It's just called Death by Coffee.
Death Wish.
Yeah, something stupid.
Yeah, but I'm talking about like Starbucks.
Parker got Death Wish coffee one time, and she drank one cup, and I was like, "You need to never do this again."
What, was she just being a mouthy bitch?
Well, it made her feel fucking not good.
Bad.
Really? It was like popping. It's just like doing too much coke or
something. I do have to say, real quick, go back to Burt Wonderstone. The character Gandolfini plays is named Doug Money, Munny.
Wow, good one.
Yeah, that's what this movie. That's what The Prestige needed. is a Doug Money.
Yeah.
That was, instead of being Cutter, Michael Caine could have been Doug.
I
Money.
prefer Doug Funny.
What's funny is watching this movie, I'm like, oh, Michael Caine only looks kind of old in this movie. Like he looks.
Yeah.
It's like watching Crystal Skull, and you're like, oh,
He's so fucking mumble mouthed in this movie, though. I normally I have this
That's just how
sometimes
he
on
acts,
regardless.
dude, in every movie. I
No,
feel like.
he's
It's just
there's
his
some
voice.
he's more like fucking Cockney in this fucking one, and I could barely fucking understand him at the beginning when he's explaining shit.
Your grapes swishers, Master Wayne.
Oh no. Let's hear your Michael Caine impressions.
I don't know what that joke was funny though.
It's a meme. I didn't make it up.
Yeah, I'm sure it was. I know. I
Um,
didn't attribute anything. That funny.
Yeah, we don't think that anything that she's make up is funny. I don't know.
You could be the outcast.
I do like the reappraisal in our now that we've exited Afghanistan of how the Dark Knight is sort of an apologia for the Bush administration's war crimes and Patriot Act stuff, but at the same time that kind of makes me think the movie's more interesting.
Yeah, that's fair.
Even though arguably the politics of that movie are bad.
Have you seen the Batman yet?
Yeah, I've seen it.
What'd you think?
It's good.
Better than Dark
I'm
Knight?
too. It's too. I like that it's a detective story, but it's too. I'm too superheroed out. So,
Yeah,
Batman rules.
well, this is kind of a continuation of a cast we did a year or so ago of the directors that made us, I think is the title of it. So if y'all want to hear more stuff, if you want to hear us talk more about Christopher Nolan, there's that, because we talk about him and Miyazaki and a few other Spielberg. And then, of course, you can hear us talk even more about Nolan's crafting in our Barbenheimer episode. So that's just some further viewing for you guys if y'all want to hear us talk more about the man that formatively got me into cooler shit. Him and Spielberg and Kubrick for sure. Because it was around that age. It's like I watched The Prestige, and then I remember I watched Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and then I watched 2001: A Space Odyssey, and I was like, fuck this movie. But thankfully, of course, I came back around to it. But we talk about that kind of stuff in those episodes. But yeah. Any final thoughts on The Prestige?
No.
I think I said most of what I wanted to say. I would have to think about it a bit more. Because as you know, I like bringing up themes like this idea that he's talking about the relationship between form and content, but that's just what I got. It does seem like a very Nolan-esque thing to do, though. I think I really got it makes me want to rewatch Inception because I haven't seen that in about as long.
It's been a while since I've seen that one too.
It is that this whole thing can be taken as a metaphor for filmmaking and artistry in general, which it's more on its face about, but also for filmmaking specifically.
Yeah, I'm huge into Inception. I know a lot of cinephiles try to drag it down because they're like, oh, it's not as like complex as you think it is. I don't care. I find it to be fun and very thrilling.
Better than
That's
Interstellar.
That's the point he makes in this movie, that it's not as complex as it has to be,
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
a
it's way
lot
better
of
than
art,
Interstellar.
like storytelling, and I think this is reductive, but there are academics who say there's only 9 types of stories. I mean, you can chart different types of stories. How many types of jokes are there? I mean, there's misdirection, there's a laugh of recognition,
Knock knock.
knock knock, which is misdirection.
No, it's knock knock.
Okay. Misdirection is about 90% of it, but then these classifications can sort of weigh you down more than anything. So I take a more organic approach. And which is why I think Nolan's interesting, because he seems to understand the organic approach and be very technical and mechanical at the same time. Seems like an interesting guy. I've heard he's down to earth. Heard he's pretty good. Gary Oldman says he doesn't chat a lot. He's there to work. But Gary Oldman said, I only got 2 notes ever of direction in my time working with him, which it probably helps that you're a really talented actor, Gary Oldman. So you don't need a lot of direction because you're Gary Oldman.
Yeah.
Gary Oldman's good.
Gary Midman.
Okay.
Yeah, Interstellar is for some reason younger cinephiles really jerk that movie off, and we talked
Is
about
that
that
just
before.
because the music gets used on TikTok a lot?
No, I think
No.
it's genuinely really loved by younger folks. I think it was their first foray into slightly experimental sci-fi epic storytelling, and it really got them. I think for them it was like people watching 2001 in the 60s when it came out, you know. I don't
Right.
Or
know.
No,
like
that makes sense because that came out when I was in the middle of college. So let's say you're 10 years younger than me. I mean, you could have been 13 or so
it's like
when that
whenever
came out.
I watched, or any of us watch like a fucking movie like Fight Club or something like that for the first time.
Right.
You're just like, whoa, movies can be like this.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
you're like, this is
Well,
like the baseline.
well, I read the book first, so that doesn't apply to me because
I respect Interstellar,
Greetings, gay.
but for people to shit on Inception and then go apeshit for Interstellar is bizarre to me. That's all I'm gonna say there.
No, that's bizarre. I mean, I wouldn't say either of them are the best movies ever made. I enjoy both movies. Inception probably more.
Inception's way better to me.
Yeah.
But that's such a fun movie. And I remember when it came out, you nitpicked it to hell and you were like, well, I don't see you were parroting stuff you'd read on the internet about how, oh, the Matrix does these exposition scenes way more interesting because
I
they're
know.
fighting.
I didn't parrot that from the internet. I thought the exposition on rewatches was drag the movie at the start of the movie down.
I like Inception.
I just like listen to him talk and explain the world around him. I always found it just to be interesting, you know.
That shit blew my mind when I saw that in theaters.
we thought we were so cool, like at 16, like, whoa, we understood Inception. What's up, bitches? I was so obnoxious. I was like, you got to be smart to watch this movie, you know, that kind of shit you say when you're 15. But well, not everyone, dickheads like me. But you know.
Don't call me dickhead.
All right. Thanks for listening, everybody. Like I said, we have a few more Nolan episodes you can find sitting around. We have a tie-in movie called The Patrician's Guide to Kino on our secondary channel, The Morning Line. We have Scott Keith doing comedy come out to shows.
At Scott K Comedy. By the time this comes out, I will have already hosted at the Grove, but I killed.
Yeah, you're manifesting it now. Good for you, buddy.
No,
I'm glad
you'll
did
actually
that.
read that in the news. It's a very tragic situation. He did kill everybody.
Yeah, in recent news in Arkansas, half the crowd committed harikari after hearing the terrible jokes.
It's Harikiri.
Harikiri, whatever it's called.
Whatever.
Hare Krishna.
You know, I wrote a book. You can buy it. Whatever. Next week, we're doing The Great Silence, a very underseen Western of sorts. Look forward to that. We'll see you next week. Thanks for listening, everybody.